into your resources of your parents, parents that you struggle with, how you're gonna address building a team with the parent. And if we're thinking about, you know, like child, teacher, parent, I guess we really should put child at the top. Kind of that triangle. And that's kind of its own culture. And then there's the, sort of, I'm gonna call it the evaluation. Pardon my bad writing here when I write. I actually have really nice writing, but when I'm writing quickly, it's not that great. Sort of that evaluative piece, whether that's self or or feedback from others or whatever, there's that piece of like, how are you holding yourself accountable, personal growth, goals, that piece, and that's kind of its own little culture. Because we want to be a culture of, we're all improving all the time. And how can we get feedback and not take it personally, or how can I give feedback and be able to say, hey, this is a suggestion, versus, okay, this is not a suggestion, this needs to happen yesterday. You know, that sort of feedback. So there's like this, hey, this is something you'd be working towards, and this is a non-negotiable issue that I need you to just like buck up and do. And there's kind of, we have to create culture that everybody can receive that and be okay with it.
And you're talking, forgive me, I was getting this set up. You're talking amongst not only students, but us.
This is really, yeah, this would be, yes, us.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Haven't even talked, how about assessment? Do you have something in place for student assessment?
Brooke and I probably need to get together and finalize the assessment piece, right, Brooke?
Are you doing something online, or are you doing something on paper?
Oh, is this the teacher assessment, the personality test assessment?
No,
or is
no, this is assessing students and record keeping and how you're gonna, you know, some people use,
So right now, we're going paper
okay,
for that, and then next year, we're going to transition to online, is that correct, Jen? Because we're going to have a system, but
Okay.
right now, for 2 classrooms, it's easier to just do paper. So we will be doing assessments and record keeping paper this year, and then next year, we'll move it to online.
okay.
And Brooke and I have some ideas. We just need to stick them together, and would probably love your input
Okay,
as well.
so we'll write that down too, because that's kind of its own little, this is, to me, this is like the culture of our school. This is how, yes, we're Montessori, but like this is how we are as humans, and this is how we're gonna hold ourselves accountable and all of that.
So another part of the culture is more like the community and parent culture, because we're in a really innovative area,
Okay,
and infusing the spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship into our culture
okay.
is another aspect.
So that, okay, so this parent one, I guess when we talked about, it's like, that's how you're gonna communicate with parents, how you're gonna involve parents, how you're gonna tap into their resources, but I'm hearing a piece more like embracing your mission.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's really okay, I'm gonna pause there for a minute, and just, I haven't even like introduced myself formally, which I don't feel like I need to, but the hats I've worn, so you know, I've been a parent of 2 Montessori kids, so I have that hat. I've been a teacher, so I have that hat. I taught elementary 2 for 10 years, and then I'm also early childhood trained, and obviously E1 trained, and I've also taught in public school. And I've worn the hat of administrator and then school owner. So I have 3 schools that I sold last year. So I've worn a lot of hats. And one of the hats that I'm very sensitive to 3 weeks before school starts is the fact that this is all great, but you're in panic mode minorly about this stuff. And I really get that. And I want to honor that. But it's really hard to not be really clear on some of these things, because as soon as this starts falling apart, this falls apart. And when I say this, like curriculum falls apart, right? And you guys are in a really unique place right now, because you're really small. You don't have this big administration presence, so you're not getting a lot of guidance. You're very autonomous right now, which is super exciting and super scary at the same time, right? So I want everybody to sort of go, okay, rarely does a teacher have the level of autonomy that you have. And so I want you to own that in a very, very humble, mature way, because a lot of teachers can go super rogue. you know, or go lazy, or go like powerhouse. There's so many directions you can go with the autonomy that you have. And what you want to do is stay really cohesive right now and very professional. Because you don't really have somebody looking over your shoulder super duper duper clearly right now. Am I right in saying that? Okay. And like as me as an outsider, that's a scary place, you know, because I've seen so many crazy things happen with parents and with teachers. Teachers kind of like doing their own thing, and I'm like, what are you doing? Or parents coming after you and you don't feel supported, and there's not enough administrative presence to totally back you. So it both ways. I'm empathizing with you, and I'm also like trying to go, come on guys, we really want to own that this is a very unique position. Okay, so with that said, this piece I think is really important because right now you're sort of all the administration. And if we only focus on this, I think we'll miss being on the same page with this. Does that make sense? So I want to not over preach at you or anything. I want to give you adequate time to get your needs met, to be ready. And trust that you'll share with me when this is too much. Like, this is great, but I really, really need other things. So I'll trust that you'll communicate with me. And I'm just here to share a lot of experience with you and hopefully make that practical. I'm not here to preach at you by any means. But this mission piece is really a good one for everybody to understand and dissect a little bit. We could take about an hour or so and really dissect, like, what does the mission say? And then make that tangible. If the mission says this, how does that show up in our class? And then every decision that's made, like a field trip, school uniforms, school show, parent involvement, whatever it is, you filter it through your mission. Does that meet the mission or not? Or are we just doing this because this feels like what schools do? Or we're doing this because we're getting parent pressure to do it? Or whatever. So you filter it through that mission. But you can't put anything through that, through that little mission filter if you don't understand it. So we'll do that. Does that meet what you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Another thing I think we should add is just some time for aid training.
Okay, yes.
So.
Did you say aid?
Mhm. Yeah. And where do you want to put that? It's sort of here. No, I'm going to put it,
Is it under?
Well, it's not,
yeah, it's not,
it's maybe EL1, EL2, but it's,
yeah. Okay, so basically, I actually am going to put it over here. And that would be, because it sort of ultimately falls under that, because the administrative piece is you're probably going to need to rely on assistants to do things, perhaps that might feel a little more administrative, right?
Okay.
Yeah, because you guys are in a really unique place without like a focal point of parents to go to and ask questions, or they're going to come to you for a lot more things just by nature of how you're set up. And that's going to be kind of difficult trying to do your job and play, meet the needs of the parents. So we'll put that under here. And I don't know where to put this, but I think maybe we'll put it under culture, is that you are right now a school within a school, and that's a unique place, and you're gonna have, in 3 weeks, a bunch of 13 and 14-year-olds looking in your school, in your classrooms, and asking questions. And then parents and then other teachers in the building are gonna wander up here and go, what's up? And you kind of need to have like a 30-second speech. You need to have a response. And sometimes they call it the elevator speech. Just like, how can you say what we do in 30 seconds or less without making them feel inferior?
and not taking up a lot of time.
Right, right. And we already know that we're doing it 10 times better than the people downstairs. Shh. But we have to say that in a way, we have to explain what we do without saying that to them. Let them draw their own conclusions. But we have a school in Boise that's a public school, and 4 classrooms are elementary, Montessori classrooms, and then the rest of the school is just regular elementary school. And there's just tension between the teachers. And there's resentment because, well, you guys are your own entities, so I can't necessarily resent you, but there's gonna be a teacher downstairs with 30 kids by herself or himself, and you're up here and it looks like playtime, and there's only 20 kids and 2 or 3 assistants, and there's just like this rub, you know what I mean? And so you have to be really humble and super supportive of what they're doing, and maybe even just really act interested. You know, walk through their classrooms. Oh, what a great idea, do you mind if I use that? And just build sort of a little bit of, even though you're only here a year, you just want to build culture within your school. Does that make sense? Within the people around you. And maybe I just said my piece, and we don't have to say too much more about that.
But that is such an important piece, I agree. I'm already running into this problem.
Mhm. Yeah. And you have to see yourself as guest in this building. Yes, you're paying rent, but really you're their guest. And so it's a tricky situation that you shouldn't have to play guest because you are paying your fair share, but it would behoove you probably to act as if you're their guest more than anything else, and I think that might help quite a bit along the way. So, okay, see, I'm a verbal processor, and so once I start talking, things just sort of come out. Sometimes I get paralyzed when I try to think it all through ahead of time. So feel free to jump in if you have any other thoughts that you want to add.
I don't see any right now.
Okay.
Everybody else is happy.
Well, the blue pen will stay, and there's lots of white space, so we'll add more as we go. So, I wanted to, are you guys touchy-feely kind of people, like you really appreciate a really good poem to get us in the right space, or is that not what we are? You tell me.
Let's do it.
Are you touchy-feely?
I don't like to be touched, but I like.
No,
word
touch the
touching.
heart, okay. All right. I'd like to read you a poem. Okay. And a lot of things, here we go. No, that's not it, sorry. Here we go. All right, so this is called Calling the Circle. Okay, by Cheryl Baldwin. And I like to kind of clear our minds for a minute, kind of go to an emotional place for just a minute to sort of start our day and set a intention, I guess. And so maybe I'll read this, and afterwards, if just a word jumps out, or a phrase or a thought, let's just go there for just a minute, okay? You're not a touchy-feely person, are you, Jen?
No, I'm just taking it all in.
Okay, awesome. When I say touch, yeah, when I say touchy-feely, I just mean really, like, let's go to the soul for just a minute, because we've been super in the mind, and let's go kind of to the heart and soul. Okay, so this is Calling the Circle. It has always been scary to step into the circle of firelight, to show up in the company of strangers, to ask for entrance or to offer it. Our hearts race. Will we have the courage to see each other? Will we have the courage to see the world? The risks we take in the 21st century are based on risk humans took thousands of years ago. We are not different from our ancestors. They are still here, coded inside us. They are, I believe, cheering us on. Any thoughts? You want me to read it again? Maybe we'll just percolate for a minute. I like to start with that because you guys are kind of in a scary place and a kind of exciting place right now too. But you're not alone, and that's what I like. That's why I chose this. Is that the risks we're taking? Humans have been taking risks, and if we don't take risks, we're not advancing. So I'm excited for you to take a risk right now, and your ancestors are inside you, coded inside you, cheering you on. So, all right. So with that in mind, let's kind of set our intention. I was hoping to start our days over the next couple weeks. Oh, should we move?
No, you're good.
Okay. Wanted to start the day, if that's okay, for maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours each morning to give you some classroom leadership. And I don't like to call it classroom management because that kind of sounds like we're shuffling kids, but classroom leadership that I think is imperative that we address because it's so complementary to Montessori. And you guys are familiar with Positive Discipline by Jane Nelson?
Yeah.
Yeah. Brooke, you're nodding. You're nodding.
For the home.
For the home,
I
awesome.
have,
Sarah, what, you think you've heard of
I
her?
don't think I have.
Okay, Jane Nelson, okay.
and I have a really cool book that you could borrow, Kim. It's the
Okay.
Positive Discipline A to Z. It's Jane Nelson. It's like the second edition. What could be the underlying issue if children are doing this? And it gives you like a list of things like what needs you could probably meet.
Yeah, and the A to Z book is sort of an awesome Bible, truly, like
It
the
really
teacher's
is.
Bible. But it is a scary book for me to recommend anybody to pick up if they haven't had some experience first with sort of the philosophy. It almost would be like looking at a Montessori manual without any background of exactly what the big picture of Montessori is. So I sort of like to say, okay, let's get the background first, and then that's a wonderful resource. It would be very foreign to you without the background, or it would be very out of context. Yeah.
I'm sure I've heard of it.
I bet you have.
Among the trainings that I've
Yeah.
done.
And if you've been drawn to Montessori, you probably know of it insightfully without even realizing it. I do. Yeah. Yeah.
Joey, I have a question.
Yeah.
Random. What state do you work in?
I live in Idaho.
Idaho. Okay,
Yeah.
that's why I said Boise. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what I'd like to do is give you a really good foundation in that, because what you'll find is that's not just classroom leadership. That will help you extend then into your parent support, and more importantly to your own sort of insight to yourself and what you do under stress, and then how that's gonna affect the people around you. So positive discipline, I think, is just this phenomenal human piece with Montessori sort of being your curricular piece. And you know that whole holistic side of Montessori, that it's not just about, in fact, the curriculum primarily is that embracing the spirit of childhood and looking at the child holistically. This really delves more into that, on a real practical level. Okay, so that's what, and I want to grab something really quick. That is what I would like to spend our mornings doing. I think it'll set us up to be in a really good space with each other, and then we'll go practical, and let things kind of percolate overnight, and then come back to positive discipline kind of each morning, okay? And what I wanted to start with, actually, I'm sorry, I should have grabbed the paper. You brought in a pad of paper, didn't you? Saw you bring something.
Over in that corner, underneath all the stack, on the table, I say on the
I
corner.
think, the
Like
big,
the big
Oh,
pad. Yeah, I
yeah.
saw you bring that in.
I thought we were gonna be over in that
Oh,
classroom.
okay.
Brooke wouldn't got it right.
oh, I think so.
Okay, and then maybe some markers, so hopefully you guys have some.
I got markers too, but I think they're
Okay.
dry erase, but well, it's okay.
Is it all right? Okay.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Peace curriculum,
Yes.
I'm not sure if we have anything in place for that.
Okay.
Or practical life.
Ah, good point. Really, practical life would be awfully nice for both, and then peace curriculum.
I know one of my schools did this on Emmett Farley's one, and
Yeah.
it was amazing.
Honoring the light of the day.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Do you have that manual?
no. And I'm not sure if they know about if gender or.
Yeah. Are you